I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools, District 39, this Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
John Cesaretti.
Here.
Ann Hart.
Here?
Bonnie Kim.
Here.
Allison Paplas.
Here.
Amy Paling.
Here.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes.
Here.
Aaron Stone.
We would now like to welcome Principal Cindy Anderson, who is here with Ramona students to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. We have a really unique group tonight because the parents are joining us, as you might notice, and staff members. So I'm going to get everybody up here. Perfect. So the reason we have this really unique group tonight is because one of the things we love about Ramona is our community. We just think it's such a special community in the neighborhood school. We're so proud of what we have at Ramona with our community. And so tonight we're celebrating that by inviting some of the alumni who went to Ramona School and brought their families back to Ramona so that their kids could go to Ramona School as well. Not only that, but we have one of our teachers who is a Ramona alumni. So I've asked the kids to introduce their parents, but I'll let our teacher introduce herself, and they're gonna share what they love about Ramona School now and a few years ago.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Pemberton. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Ramona now, and I was a fourth grade student back in the day. My favorite thing about Ramona continues to be our originality.
Hi, my name is Naomi. This is my daddy behind me. He tells terrible jokes, by the way. And my favorite part about Ramona is recess because I like playing with my friends. My name is Reese, and this is my mom. What I like about Ramona is the nice teachers.
Hi, my name is Ma, and this is my mom, Lauren. She graduated in 1991, and my favorite part of Ramona is the loving teachers and staff.
My name is Drake, and this is my mom, Jackie, and we both like Ramona because of the nice teachers. Yeah. My name is Natalie. My name is David, and this is our dad, and we like Mustang Activity Day. My name is Melody. My name is Dylan. My name is Sadie. My name is Casty, and we like Ramona School Club because of the loving and caring teachers. This is our mom. This is our mom, Christine. I'm Campbell, and this is my mom, Lindsay. And one thing we both loved about Ramona is the climbing unit in PE.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Bo, and this is my dad. My name is Maddie, and I like playing football before school. You may now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Mustangs.
We're going to need to get one fantastic big picture of this entire crew. My goodness, I'm overwhelmed with pride seeing all of you back again with all of your children as well.
I agree. Thank you very much to Mrs. Anderson, our Ramona students, and our Ramona alumni. What a special evening this is to see all of you here together. Sounds like there have been many, many wonderful things to enjoy about Ramona over many years, and Students, how nice to be able to share all of this with your parents and have this shared experience. So thank you for being here and sharing with us tonight. If you guys would like, students, after we get a picture, you want to get the picture?
Leo, do you want to get the picture here or outside? Okay, so we'll line you up again in the lobby for a great picture, but in the meantime.
You can join us over here, and we have a small token for you guys to thank you for coming out and sharing your time with us this evening. So students, if you want to meet me over here, and then you can meet your parents in the lobby for a picture. Thank you for coming.
How fun. Oh my gosh, incredible.
All right, we're moving on to our artwork tonight. 7th and 8th grade Wilmette Junior High students from Page Lund's drawing, painting, and printmaking classes host the exhibit on the display this month in the boardroom. Art prepares students to respond to and create visual culture. Images are important for communication, and students need a visual vocabulary that combines form and technique with their own everyday experiences. The artwork in this exhibit represents a range of products from 7th grade 2D art to 8th grade drawing and printmaking. Throughout the project, students studied techniques that help them engage with their surroundings and question different ways of seeing, like socially constructed views. An important part of these courses centers on providing students with ways to express their own ideas and voice in their own work. For every project, students learn new techniques and practice a small project. Then they pick and choose techniques to apply to their own project plan. Additionally, they make avant-garde poetry. Students worked with partners to find inspiring words and these words to create a sentence that expresses their art. At this time, I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the September 18th, 2023 Board of Education regular and executive session meetings and the minutes of the October 2nd, 2023 special meeting and executive session.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
John Cesaretti,
Yes.
Ann Hart,
Yes.
Bonnie Kim,
Yes.
Allison Paplas,
Yes.
Amy Paling,
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes.
Yes.
The motion carries. This is the first opportunity for the public to address the board. Are there any community members that wish to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to tonight's board reports, starting first with committee facility development. Mrs. Kim.
Thank you. The Facility Development Committee met on October 16th as part of the Committee of the Whole meeting. Mike Bickler of Nicholas and Associates updated the board on the progress made on summer 2023 air conditioning renovation projects. The cause of the delays has been long lead times for the chillers and electrical components. 2 chillers have been set at Central and Ramona schools. The chiller for Harper was expected to arrive last week, and delivery of Highcrest chiller is expected at the end of the month. Joe Papanikolas reports the summer 2024 construction projects budget assessment is at 60% and anticipated costs of $4.5 million. The majority of work is roofing and mechanical work at WJHS. The refined 85% estimates will be conducted in the coming weeks. There will be 6 alternates built into the project. The project will be presented for bidding on November 9th, with the bid opening held on November 30th. Nicholas has received the commitment letter for pre-purchase of equipment, and lead times are expected to be substantially improved for summer 2024. Mr. Boltemeyer reported last year at this time the district applied for and received a $50,000 state maintenance grant from ISB. ISB has announced that a new year of grants are open for applications. District 39 will be applying for the $50,000 grant once again. This time, the application will be attached to the summer 2024 work at WJHS. The application resolution will be presented for board approval on this agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Cesaretti, School Finance?
So the School Finance Committee also met, Board Finance Committee also met on October 16th as part of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Boltzmeyer reviewed the 2023 proposed tax levy estimate and factors contributing to its calculation. A presentation will be shared later on this evening's agenda regarding the 2023 estimated tax levy, again including many of the factors that impact the tax levy calculation. That's it.
Great, thank you. Strategy Committee, Mrs. Schneider-Fabes.
The Strategy Committee also met that same day. As has become the district practice, the board received several updates on the district's strategic planning efforts and its progress toward accomplishments of this year's action steps as part of the Committee of the Whole meeting on October. Kelly Jackson provided the board with several updates, including an update on Goal 2 action steps, with a focus on SEL and behavioral foundations, and a review of Goal 4 action steps, with a focus on transitions for our 4th to 5th grade and 6th to 7th grade students and families. Ms. Jackson also provided a review of the 2023 5 Essentials survey results. The board discussed each of these updates.
Thank you. We will move on to liaison reports, and back to you, Mrs. Schneider-Fabes, for Community Review Committee.
So I went to that meeting. It was October 10th. This was the CRC's first meeting with their new board members, and they presented 2 incredibly thoughtful and impactful presentations about options for them to study this year. Some of you might recall that last year's group had thought of using this year to focus on educating neurodiverse students, while last year's focus was on creating an inclusive environment. But as the leadership team from CRC looked into this over the summer, they realized that that was likely way too broad of an area of study for the group to take on. So they heard presentations about 2 different things. One was looking into the benefits and importance of play in education, including for neurodiverse students, also for all in our population. And so that was one presentation, and the other was on teacher burnout and stress and strategies to support that, improving that. So incredible conversation and benefits to both, and really thoughtful members on the CRC. They will meet again November 14th and vote on which one of those great topics they will study and go from there.
Right. Educational Foundation, Mrs. Kim?
Yes, I went to the Ed Foundation's first meeting of the year, which was on September 27th. And I got a chance to hear the events that they planned for this year, which are all fundraisers for District 39 and their GRIP grant timeline for the year. And their first event is coming up on November 4th, trivia night. And and I'll be there, and I hope you will be too. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then Wilmette Village Intergovernmental Cooperation Working Group, Mrs. Kim and Mrs. Schneider-Fabes, any update tonight?
We're having our meeting that was scheduled for last month on Wednesday night, so we'll update you at our next meeting.
Great, thank you. And IASB reports, Mrs. Pathless.
Yes, nothing really new to report other than just to remind everyone that registration for the joint annual conference is still open. That takes place on November 17th to the 19th. Registration closes on November 14th. Also, the IASB North Cook Division dinner meeting is scheduled on Monday, October 30th at 6 o'clock in Rolling Meadows. And if you're interested, you can let Nancy know.
Thank you. At this point, we'll turn it over to Dr. Cremascoli for information items.
Thank you. Several informational items we'd like to report on this evening. First of all, written communications were received by the board from Michael Gordon regarding salary increases for paraprofessionals, from Allie Frazier regarding student placement and accelerated math, and from Anne Marie Kogan regarding use of a new school climate survey, comprehensive school climate inventory, also known as CSCI, in lieu of the 5 Essentials survey. In terms of administrative announcements, first of all, parent-teacher conferences for this fall are approaching quickly. We will host these conferences using Meet the Teacher video appointments at all schools. An email was sent to families last Thursday with details on what to expect. Parents can anticipate an email on Friday, October 27th with login credentials for the appointment registration system and for parent-teacher conferences to open on Monday, October 30th, as is our tradition on that shorter school day. Parents are encouraged to mark their calendars. We know that those conference times, especially the preferred ones, will fill up quickly. So jump on in there and mark your calendars for the actual conferences, November 15th through the 17th. Fall break, we really hope that everyone can make time to join their child's or their children's conferences. We also this evening would like to recognize our principals. They're sitting here in the back of the room, all 6 of them, and they're all just absolutely outstanding. October is Principal Appreciation Month, and we are very proud to honor our building leaders in District 39. We know that being a school administrator is both rewarding and challenging. It is probably one of the toughest jobs in education, and yet our leaders rise to the occasion each and every day. Our school principals, our assistant principals, and our grade level administrators in each of our buildings are dedicated to caring for and assisting our students and staff to reach their full potential. So we thank them for their hard work, their expertise, their dedication, their care, flexibility, and perseverance. They really are an outstanding group, and we're so very grateful. So I'd like to give them a quick round of applause in honor of them. If you haven't already, take a moment this month to thank your own principal for the great work that they're doing. Recognition not only of our principals, but also of our schools that each of our principals leads. I'm incredibly proud to recognize Ramona Elementary School, who visited with us this evening for a bit at the pledge for being named a National Blue Ribbon School this past month. This marks the 3rd time that Ramona has earned this prestigious distinction, and it was one of only 14 schools in the state of Illinois to be recognized as an exemplary, high-performing school. Principal Cindy Anderson and our longtime and beloved veteran staff member Kathy Peach and I are looking forward to traveling to Washington, D.C. On behalf of the school to be recognized for this tremendous honor. So thank you to everyone for your hard work there. I also want to acknowledge that and celebrate the pride that we have for all 4 of our D39 elementary schools. Each was named an Apple Distinguished School for the 2023 through 2026 school years earlier this month. This award recognizes those schools for using Apple technology in innovative ways that inspire creativity, collaboration, and critical teaching and learning among its learning community. And and we know that's really important to all of us. The schools went through a detailed and thorough application process, and we're extremely proud of how they use technology to continue to engage, empower, and inspire our students. As we know, Highcrest Middle School and Wilmette Junior High School received this honor last year, making District 39 one of only a few school districts in the country to have all schools recognized by Apple. Congratulations to all. An announcement regarding an upcoming author visit. Grace Lynn will visit our schools. In recent years, our elementary PTAs have graciously financially supported an author to visit the schools. And during the week of author's visit, our elementary librarians do a variety of activities using the author's books. We're excited to announce that this year, author Grace Lynn will be visiting. In partnership with the Wilmette Public Library, we're thrilled to get this highly popular author to visit us here in Wilmette. So on Monday, November 6th, the Wilmette Public Library will host an evening with Grace Lynn at Wilmette Junior High School. This is open to all families and ages. Her books will be available for purchase, and there will be an opportunity to have the book signed as well. So the registration for that event can be found on the Wilmette Public Library website. We're really excited about that week of fun. Additionally, we received some recognition from the state board. Annually, public schools and districts are evaluated by the state of Illinois on their ability to meet all the required obligations of the provisions of special education services and programming. The annual Local Education Agency, or LEA, determination review of Illinois school districts report on our progress and our accomplishments toward these rigorous requirements and goals. And I am proud to report that this year District 39 has earned the highest ratings possible in each measure. These ratings represent a significant amount of work accomplished by our teachers, our administrators, and our related services personnel. While compliance-oriented, these accomplishments reflect a significant commitment to meeting and exceeding the expectations of special education programming and services. So many thanks to all who have a hand in that, and also to our parents who partner with us in those endeavors. So thank you, that's quite an accomplishment. The fiscal year 2024 maintenance grant application was mentioned previously as part of the committee of the whole. District 39 will be applying for the state maintenance grant for a total of $50,000. The application is related to work at WJHS in the summer of 2024. The same grant was applied for last year at this time and was awarded as well. So the application process requires that District 39 board approve the application. You'll see that later on this evening's agenda. I also want to acknowledge and thank the Board of Education. Annually, the board meets for its own professional development and reflection, self-evaluation of sorts. And so the Board of Education met on Monday, October 2nd for its annual board self-evaluation and development session. Those sessions are led by a representative from the Illinois Association of School Boards. Just as our teachers, administrators, and staff participate in various professional development and improvement activities, this annual meeting provides an opportunity for the board to do the same. So I want to acknowledge and thank our board members for their commitment to strong governance, ongoing development and improvement efforts, and the foundational principles of effective governance. So thank you for making time for that each year. A few of us attended an event recently, the League of Women Voters event. They hosted the State of the Village. They host that annually, and this year's event took place on Wednesday, October 11th. The event provided the leadership and administration from each local governmental agency here in Wilmette the opportunity to discuss and provide updates to strategic priorities in their area of expertise and key issues of focus. The event was well attended this year. I think it was a packed house and provided a wonderful opportunity both for connection and for sharing. Thank you to the board president, Erin Stone, for her presentation on behalf of District 39 and for all who attended the event. And we also want to appreciate the leadership and engagement of the League of Women Voters. Just a really outstanding event each year. So thank you for that.
Dr. Kremiscoli, can I just interject?
please. Yes.
And I think it's every 2 years that they hold this.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
rather
Thanks
than
for
every year.
clarifying. Okay. All right. Anything else? That was a lot to run through. Any questions about any of that before I move on to the Freedom of Information Act? Yes. It was. Yes, it was. Thank you. A lot of hard work on behalf of many. So it's nice to see that paying off and some recognition there. So thank you. And we're excited about some of the upcoming reports that we'll make later on the agenda that will continue some celebrations and always some room for growth too. We're excited by both. Okay, so I'll move on to the Freedom of Information Act requests. The district received and processed FOIA requests from the following. Janine Asmus of Burr Ridge was requesting identification and emails for every district employee who is certified as a school librarian currently working in the district in D39 libraries or media centers this year. Sherry Reed of Smart Procure submitted a commercial FOIA requesting all purchasing records from June 21st, 2023 through September 14th, 2023. Jody Cohen and Jennifer Smith Richards of ProPublica requested all records detailing programs and services offered by Shrub Oak, including education and residential services, the negotiated per diem rate for tuition, room, board, and other services, communication including but not limited to email communication between Wilmette Public School District 39 and ISB related to the placement of students at Shrub Oak, communication including but not limited to email communication between district employees and employees of Shrub Oak, all placement agreements or contracts with Shrub Oak International School, all records showing approval of requests for emergency placement at the facility, including proof of need for placement provided by the district to ISB. We also received a FOIA from Jody Cohen and Jennifer Smith Richards of ProPublica requesting records that sufficiently detail invoice and billing amounts from and records of payments to residential schools and programs where District 39 students were placed during the years of 2020 through 2024, records of student placements in residential schools and programs from 2020 to 2021 school year to present. Records were requested to include student race, gender, grade level, IEP status, Section 504 status, the school year placed in the setting and the name of the school and the length of placement. And finally, Frank Zarowski requested documents identifying schools using seclusion rooms during the 2022-2023 school year, along with the quantity of seclusions, length of seclusions, number of seclusions per school year, time spent per student, and total number of students secluded in the 2022-2023 school year.
We will now continue on with strategic plan updates.
Excellent, thank you so much. We have several updates for our strategic plan on this evening's agenda, and we will start with the Spring 2023 Illinois Assessment of Readiness, the preliminary data. Ms. Katie Lee will present the IAR assessment results from spring of 2023, which is reflective of last school year. The assessment results are deemed preliminary and embargoed by the State Board of Education until October 30th, 2023, when ISB publicly releases the data, makes it available on IARC, and the school report cards are also available at that time. Katie?
Thank you, Dr. Goskoli. As mentioned, and as the board is aware, this is a state mandated assessment, one of a few that we share information with you. Students take this assessment in the spring, March and April. However, we receive the results more in the fall, and therefore that's when we do a deep dive. It's really a point of reflection for us in order to identify an area of focus and also celebrate some accomplishments based on the work that we have. Oh, I also wanted to mention families received the students' results probably over the weekend. It was mailed out for our 5th through 8th grade students on Friday, and then Backpack Express for our elementary students for 3rd and 4th grade. Okay, here we go. Just as to mention, we took off the park piece of this informational slide just to recognize that we've had enough years of it being the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, and that's why This just outlines for you that we have 1 test form for math and 2 test forms that our students are randomly selected to take for ELA. Most of our assessments are completed by April, and this is for grades 3 through 8. What we analyze are the different levels of performance as identified here, and our focus is in level 4 and 5, who are most interested in striving to have our students meet expectations and exceed those expectations. This table was provided to you in your board report. It's just a summary of our results by level and then the combination of 4 and 5. And this one reflects ELA, our English Language Arts levels by grade. And this is the same information, but for the content area of math. The reason I'm not spending too much time on this is because this is the data that we are going to present in many different visual ways to give you a better idea of the progression of our students. So in the meets and exceeds category, longitudinally, we wanted to show you from 2016-17 school year all the way to the current spring. So these are the results for third grade ELA and 3rd grade math. 4th grade ELA and 4th grade math. I won't repeat every grade level, but I think you understand. It is important to note as well that each of these years represents different groups of students. 5th grade. This next section visualizes the subclaim analysis that we conduct. We do go into a deeper dive into each of the subcategories, and I will begin with English Language Arts. The subclaim categories, so it's not just reading in general or math in general, but the categories underneath, they are identified as higher, which is our 4s and 5s, middle, which is our performance level of a 3, and the lower in 1 or 2 levels. And the categories for English Language Arts are the ones that you see here: literary text, informational text, vocabulary, written expression, knowledge, and use of language conventions. And as a reminder, we spent the last couple of years identifying our focus areas writing. We decided that based on the results of last spring 2022 results, we saw some positive growth in certain grade levels, but we also had some room to grow. And so we kept that as our primary area of focus. And so we wanted to show you that what the results of our efforts were. So for 3rd grade ELA, these are all of the sub-claims. Blue is where we are hoping to get the greatest results in all of these areas, and this is for 3rd grade ELA. Our focus area was in written expression and language and conventions, and as you can see, 3rd grade resulted that, this might be a continued area for us, as opposed to in 2022, we did better. So we're looking into why or how we can support our 3rd grade students. It's also important to note it's the first year that they're taking this test, and so trying to maintain a consistency of practice of how to help support what they understand is the expectation of the questions on each of the assessments. This is the subclaim of knowledge and language use in mechanics, and that was our focus area for 3rd grade. Here are the results for the subclaims for 4th grade ELA and the written expression subclaim results from the spring of 2023. This is is knowledge of language use and mechanics. I hope you notice the substantial growth in this area for this grade level, and you will see more as we continue. Here's 5th grade. You may recall in the spring of 2021, we had a significant concern as to, why our students are not performing, especially this assessment. But as you can see with the efforts in 2022 for 5th grade, they did make significant gains and demonstrated their knowledge in written expression, and also continued to do that with our class last year. So again, these are different groups of 5th grade students, and what this tells us is with the practice that was put into place in 2022 and continuing that effort, it resulted the same in 2023. And here's language use and mechanics for 5th grade. 6th grade overall for each of the subclaims. Written expression for 6th grade, which was our focus area. Yes, sure.
So 5th grade ELA 2021 group, are they the 6th grade 2022 group?
Yeah. Actually, that's a really great observation. I try to have you observe some of these things. What the efforts, what's being shown here are the efforts from previous grade levels also continuing up. You'll see that the 5th graders from last year also maintained their understanding and demonstrated their understanding in 2023. But when we go back to 5th grade, as you noticed, 2021, those students were 6th graders in 2022, and then now, and 7th graders in 2023. So if you notice as we progress, you'll see the progress they're making. So 6th grade written expression. Here's a language use and mechanics. 7th grade English language arts overall for all of the subclaims. And then in written expression. The knowledge of language use and mechanics. This is the overall for 8th grade English language arts in all of the subclaims. And in 2023 spring, this is written expression. I think there was a lot of conversation about our 8th grade students in the past. Do they take the test, seriously? Are they able to demonstrate? I think the one thing I'd like to say is, in all of these results, what it demonstrates is the hard work of our teachers, not only in the instruction, but also in the use of the curriculum, materials, because most of the work was really about heightening awareness, helping students understand what it is that is expected of them, and asking them to demonstrate that. So the teachers did a lot of work in that area, and so I hope that you can see the results that have been shown through this summative assessment. So I'm very proud of their work. And here is the knowledge of language use and mechanics.
These are really tremendous gains from one year to the next. And I think it really does speak to the hard work of our teachers and our students, and all of those who are supporting them in really digging into what these data tell us, what are our students able to do in class that maybe they're not yet demonstrating on this assessment measure, and how are we supporting them to demonstrate their best learning on each and every assessment that they're provided. It's really important, and I think this is just one snapshot. I think in hearing our teachers and our administrators talk often, we acknowledge that we see some different levels of performance within our classroom-based assessments that aren't showing themselves on these kinds of measures. And so some really critical work looking at why is that and how can we better support our students. to demonstrate their learning on all tasks in front of them. This is, I mean, it's just really outstanding. I don't think I've ever seen in my career that kind of growth in a grade level in their performance on any measure. And again, this is just one snapshot, so we don't want to put too much weight into just this one snapshot. But I do think it's noteworthy that our teachers were saying our students do all this incredible work and produce a ton of really great writing in class, but we're not always seeing those results on this measure. Why is that? And so just them digging in and asking those questions have supported our students. So thank you to everyone.
I think the breakdown of the data provided by the creators of the assessment has improved over time too. So the fact that we could even dig into the subclaims and see them over the years really helps us identify an area of focus as well. So I'm going to continue on with math. Our subclaim analysis, we do a deeper dive, but here is the results from spring of 2023 and also longitudinally so that we can see a pattern. This is divided up into major content, which is for their grade level learning standards, expressing mathematical reasoning. This is where students have the opportunity to write and express their understanding or their reasoning on paper, or on the computer, using modeling and application for that, and then the additional and supporting content areas. And so for math, this was third grade in the different subclaim areas for last spring. And this is from 2021 through 2023 once they started giving us these subcategories. And this is the way for us to look at, you know, the pattern of the 4s and 5s over the years for our students. This is 4th grade math. I think you'll recall that the reason we decided to focus on English language arts was relatively with math. We noticed that that was a good place to focus. And so with the gains that we have seen, this is the analysis and summary by each of the grade levels. We assumed a target because these are achievement scores. And so the district needed something to measure, hey, how are we doing? And so the assumed target, I just want to make clear that was our goal because we were below 70%. And what we wanted is to strive to, you know, raise that achievement for our students to at least 70. That was our goal. And as you can see, all of the grade levels where this hasn't been in the past are above, not just 70, but well above that assumed target. So we're really proud of the work that we've been doing in that area, and we will continue to support third grade as this is the first that they are taking this type of assessment, and we want to continue that support and understanding what they need in order to demonstrate all that they know. So this is an area of accomplishment, I feel, for our entire district and all of the teachers and all of the support that the principals have given and throughout last year. So for math, I believe that based on this, we are going to maintain what we've been doing in English language arts, but I think that we can shift toward math. When we look, I give you a peek into some of the level of analysis, and you have certain data, but we dig a lot deeper. And so when we look into the data the two subcategories that is almost comparable to the idea that we had in English language arts of the written expression. You know, how much are students, not just multiple choice, but how much are they providing their knowledge in written form, in modeling and application and mathematical reasoning. Those two areas would be what we would recommend as our district's area of focus. And we would like to, we're close, we're very close in almost all of the grade levels with math with our assumed target, but we'd like to make that an area of focus this year for us. Okay. Happy to answer any questions about this particular assessment.
Board members, any comments, questions for Katie? Amy?
I just have to, I love at what you're doing with this. I think I sometimes worry about society, our over-reliance on standardized testing. And I think doing this, where you're using it to really look for patterns and for growth, is the model of how it can be truly helpful. So it's really impressive and exciting.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Lisa?
So the grades that struggle more with grades, are there patterns too that are common in that? Or is hard to understand not a teacher and
Yeah, I think Katie will respond. I think I've noticed that in third grade in particular, there's some greater variance, and that those are our youngest students taking this assessment. And so that's something that we're aware of. But I think there's a lot that goes into it. What do you think?
Yeah, there is a lot. I think what I tried to explain a few years back is that these assessments don't necessarily reflect the way in which a teacher may support students in the classroom. So, for example, in English language arts, when we looked into the actual questions, we would notice that on a standardized assessment, a student of third grade all the way to eighth grade are given multiple paragraphs of directions and multiple resources that they need to go through, and then compose a response. So typically in a classroom, it's not that that doesn't happen. It's just, it's explained. It's provided with prompting. It's practice along the way, but in a standardized assessment, we can't do that. None of the teachers can say, okay, everybody read the first paragraph, pause. What is it trying to tell you? Move on, read the next passage. We have to allow them with no direction specifically to tackle that assessment. So that's where our hypothesis came to, are they fully understanding what is being asked of them? Because no third grade teacher or even an eighth grade teacher would give you a full page of directions and say, here, figure it out. We would support that one step at a time. And so what we notice in the classroom is very different than what we see on some standardized tests, because some of the environment of testing is just not authentic to what happens in our classroom. So I think then it goes into how do we support without quote unquote teaching to the test. What we don't want is for teachers to mimic everything, but offer experiences given the content or standards, the unit of study that's provided, making it an authentic experience in the classroom. And that's part of the support that we've given, helping teachers understand what is asked of the students on these assessments, and then trying to provide just opportunities in a more authentic way. And I believe that's part of the reason we're seeing the results in English language arts, because that's where we focus. I think our shift now is to be in math. You know, helping our teachers understand how are the questions fully phrased, what type of tasks are they being asked to convey their knowledge and demonstrate their knowledge. And then we have full confidence that our students do very well in math. Our achievement shows that. But on this particular assessment, it's just helping them understand how to break down this type of testing environment and understand each portion so that they are doing what is being asked of them. I don't know if that helped, but I was trying to, okay. Yeah. Yes, sorry.
So if next year you're doing that, now you have like double the focus.
So part of our collaborative inquiry is, once we establish, how can we support our students, we would continue that practice. And that's what I'm calling consistency of practice. So we noticed, let me use fifth grade as an example. Fifth grade showed some concern, right, in 2021. They reflected, changed their practice in the classroom, and then maintained that this year. And so when we see last year's results and then we saw something different, then the question is, was there consistency of practice or did something change? And so what I would say wholeheartedly is the fifth grade teachers maintained that practice with a different set of students and produced the same results. So then if I reflect on third grade, I would say, hey, the first time we implemented the supports, we saw results of 70% in the 4s and 5s. Then the question is, I wonder if we were consistent in practice, or do we need to help and support again in the spring? We need to reflect with the teachers again. Hey, what did we do last year? Did we do the same thing, or did something change? So that's where it's really nice when our teams get together and reflect and look at the data and just have a conversation about it, because then they can identify, oh, we did tweak this, or we didn't do what we did the last spring. Let's try it again for next year.
In education about how you do our meeting.
Oh, the analysis of the
When you
data?
figure this out, you look at the data together.
Sure. Well,
Practice is it?
yeah, so when we receive the results, it's my team that will dig into the overall district view. So we see data aggregated, and then we also know by school or by grade level, we can go deeper into the data. And so when we receive it, we also have a platform called EduClimber that we sync our information, and so we can see patterns in graphic form. It helps us a lot, not just to look at the numbers, but over time, how we've improved or not. Then the data is presented in a visual way like this, and during an administrative council, we talk about the information. We share it with the principals. The principals have amazing structures at their schools that was set up by the MTSS protocol that we've done, and they meet with the teachers, or there's teacher leaders within the school that have collaboration times where they dig in more. So as soon as this data was released and we were able to share it amongst the principals, they then took it to their schools, and then their teacher leaders, and then all of their teachers. And so those meetings, those collaborations, we call them, are probably the most important part of this process, where we can create these visuals, but it's how they look into it and how they dig into it. The other piece too is we get deeper, we get more details. So we buy standard, we know how our grade levels have performed, and so then we can say, hey, this seems to be a standard that we didn't perform as well, or here's areas of celebration, so let's applaud that. We want to always start with a positive, and then have the teachers identify, oh, this is something that we do spend a lot of time on. I wonder what we could, how we can reflect on this. But there are other standards that we also don't want to be inauthentic. So what I mean by that is our sequence of study is a sequence of study. So we could take something late May and teach it before April or March. We don't do that. And so there might be some standards that the teachers notice, hey, we didn't do as well as we thought we would in that area, but then they look at the standard, they read it, and they'll reflect and say, well, that's something that we teach and introduce to our students in May. Some of our students have exposure to it just because, you know, they have experience with, let's say, I'm going to pull geometry concepts. And so they'll do fine, you know, they'll perform. And so our students do get early exposure. But most of our students, if there was a geometry concept that was scheduled to be a unit of study in May, we're not going to move it up to March. I think that's where the conversation is the most important, the reflection is the most important, the context is really important. And then we work. Oh, sure. I hope I answered it.
That's really good.
All right, we will continue on with strategic plan updates.
So another set of assessment results that we have to review are the fall 2023 NWEA MAP and Ames Web Plus assessment data. These data are presented for the board's preview and discussion. They provide a baseline of achievement for the school year as well as a bit of a historical look back. So both Katie Lee and Kristen Swanson will lead us through these data.
Just as a point of intention, we share fall data truly as a baseline. We take this as static information at this point because it is our first data point in order to work from. So when we go through this information, and Kristen will start with Ames Web Plus, but when I start with MAP, the intent is to notice any significant dips like we did when we went into the subclaims for IAR. And so you'll notice that we're pretty consistent in our fall with our students.
Yeah, so the first section that we're going to talk about is the early literacy using Ames Web Plus. And this is, we do the early literacy subtest with both our kindergartners and first graders. And obviously, when you have kindergartners, this is not only their first introduction to kind of formal schooling, but it's also the first time they're being asked to sit down and take a test. And it provides both practice and information. Our teachers use this information to help inform what they're doing with individual students and what they're doing with their whole class. If they have a whole class that is low in a certain area, they're going to naturally spend more time on that. So but it is also, especially for our kindergartners, a little bit variable because it is their first time taking this kind of an assessment. It's timed. It may be with their classroom teacher. It may be with a psychologist or a social worker or somebody else in the building. But as you can see, our students do tend to be pretty consistent in that the first subtest they take. So for kindergarten, we do letter naming fluency and letter word sound fluency, which is really just trying to understand, do they know what their letters are and what sounds they make? First graders, we do oral reading fluency, which is being able to read paragraphs or passages aloud. And then this year we have introduced nonsense word fluency, which is really an assessment looking at their decoding skills. So we're excited to see how much information we get from that nonsense word fluency as we go through the school year. This is the first time that we've administered it as a benchmark assessment. So,
and I'd love to emphasize that this is timed.
Yeah.
So our kindergartners and first graders are asked within, 60 seconds or within a minute how much they could read.
Yeah.
So it stands out to me.
Yeah, how many letters can they name in 1 minute?
Exactly.
So
Or
it
read
is
or read a passage. Yes.
It's kind of a fun assessment to do it with the little guys. If you want to switch to the math. Our early numeracy, we don't do any early numeracy assessments with our kindergartners in the fall. We start doing those in the winter. So we'll present that information halfway through the school year. But for our first graders, we have 2 subtests that we do for them. And really, you can see that they're pretty consistent, although we are definitely increasing as we move through the year. So it will be interesting, again, to see how this continues throughout the course of the year. We've introduced some new math resources this year, and I think that this will be exciting to see our students' progress throughout the year.
Do you want to share what MFF and CF are?
Yeah. They are, hold on, I gotta look it up again. Number naming fluency is or yeah, it should be number naming fluency and, no, they're kindergarten ones. No, I don't remember them.
Oh,
right
I'm
now.
sorry. Never mind. Okay. Okay, let's move on to
Math, facts,
NWA.
fluency, and number comparison. Sorry.
So for the fall of NWA Math, we start in second grade in our district. Many of our other districts, our sender districts, do not include second grade, but we felt, we've always felt that we should assess our second graders for NWA Math as well. And so we do it 3 times a year, grades 2nd through 8th grade, with reading and mathematics with a RIT score that is an equal interval scale. We wanted to share with you just a few tables, and then the rest of the graphs are an iteration of this. The students performing above their grade level national average, so at or above the 50th percentile in NWA Math. And so the blue row is this current year. This is just a visual way of the same information. Those were the tables that were provided for you in the report. And so visually across the board, we're looking at our current second graders, our current third graders, and then if you look at the current 8th graders and go backwards, so 82 is their 8th grade, 85 is 7th grade, and so on. And this is cohort trends for math with the same information. And then we'll go through the average mean with scores for the fall for both reading and math, starting in fall 2019 and ending with this current fall benchmarking results. And again, what we're looking for are some significant dips or not dips, the other way, higher. And so this is reading in its subcategories as well. We can dig into the literary text, informational text, and vocabulary. This is second grade math by the subcategories. And this pattern will continue as I flip through the slides for your review. So third grade, reading and math. Different. So I think the bar graphs at least would give you the visual of there's no significant dips. And so it's not an area of concern as far as achievement level where they start off in the fall. We use that. So you might have noticed like a plus or minus about 3 in each of the grades at the most. But most of them either stayed consistent or were 1 writ off. from prior years. And so that tells us that, our students are really starting at the same place. If we noticed a significant dip in their achievement at this point, that would be something to look back at our curricular resources and the content that we cover or that we teach. The fact that it doesn't do that means that we're pretty consistent right now. This is another view that I think is also important for us to look at as cohort over the years. And so this is in the form of a line graph for you. And so what we're looking for is an incline or, from second grade all the way to 8th grade, how are the students doing over time? So in the fall of this graph depicts the fall 2022 is their second grade year when they started, and then the spring score at the end of the year. The colorful line is the District 39 data, and then the national mean RIT is in the black. And then this year, in fall of 2023, they are third graders. And so you'll see this through the slides. There's our current fourth grade. And here's math. Let me use this as an example. Actually, let me go back to grade 7. You'll notice that if you notice the blue dots, which is representative of the fall, it is not, it's actually very typical where there might be a dip in the fall score because it's recalibrating, if you will. But there are situations, so for example, in grade 8, and you'll see it in the other grades too, where they may start off a little bit higher as well. But those 1 or 2, RIT scores off is not an area of concern for us. That was riveting. But I'm happy to answer any questions about this and also anything about ASA as well.
Yeah, I'm curious about what the scores mean, if they have any, like 230s, I know I saw the progression again, national, it looks like in the latest data sets, right? So there's some kind of national, there you go.
Sure. So let me show this out. I'll just keep it not in presentation mode. But the RASH unit is one that is of equal interval. It's a scale that it continues from second grade all the way to 8th grade. So a 230 for an 8th grader is the same as a 230 for a third grader, right? So when you see that our averages, that would mean, let's take second grade, not in the subcategories, let me do an overall. So when you see a 182 for the fall of 2023, that means that our students, that's the average. So some of our students are below that and some of our students are above that. And in all of these measures, when we compare to national, our second graders are typically at a third grade national RIT score, and so on. They're typically about a year in advance compared to their peers nationally who take this assessment. Did that answer your question? Mm-hmm.
So is there like a 80% score?
Oh, I see.
The
way we see if we're progressing or not is we compare ourselves to the national. So the fact that we've been consistent in being about a grade or more above each of the grade levels, we feel that we're staying the course, where our students are doing very well as far as achievement is concerned. This assessment is also very different. It is a multiple choice assessment. It is one that students don't get to write. It's either what's the answer, you know, pick it, and you move on. So it's a different environment. We use this data more as a formative data source that we say, hey, this is where our students are starting off. Is that any different than years past? How could we dig into more specific student information on their student profiles? If they're lower than this or if they're higher than the average, we look at that in order to make instructional decisions. It just helps us guide.
By formative assessment,
Oh,
meaning
sorry.
we will measure students with this tool a couple of times a year, and then teacher teams, grade level teams will analyze these data to really inform what they're doing with their instruction, who might need intervention or enrichment. So there's not really a fall target, although it's noteworthy to compare from year to year, because we're really looking to see if students are a little higher or a little lower overall. These data really are more useful at the student level or the grade level cohort at each school. It kind of provides that baseline, and then we monitor growth with this tool a little differently than we do with IAR, where we have kind of a goal of 70% being in the 4s and 5s. Here, there's not really a goal for fall, although we're looking to see if there are any noteworthy trends. It's really more about the growth that students accomplish from fall to spring.
And in June, we will share that information. We'll show you the fall to spring progression there, and whether the students have met their growth goal or not, as set by NWA. So NWA does all of this research where they'll set, typically a student at this RIT would grow, if they're a second grader and they have a particular RIT score, they're expected to grow a certain point. And so that's what we report to you in June. We say fall to spring.
Continue with strategic plan updates.
Okay. Next, we have our key performance indicators in update for goals 2, 3, and 4. In June of 2023, most of our KPIs were updated as the data were available for those goals. However, some of the data were not yet accessible until this fall. So Heather Gowacki, Tony DeMonte, Kelly Jackson, and Katie Lee will present an update now.
Well, you did my whole intro, so
Oh,
I'm just gonna
sorry,
move.
there we go.
No, that is great. I love it. So pretty much this is our strategic plan, and here are the key performance indicators that we can update now. Starting with goal 2.
All right, goal 2 is our supportive community goal, cultivating a supportive and inclusive learning community that is responsive to the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of each student. Our first outcome indicators focused on data gathered from student responses on the 5 Essentials survey. This data has been collected over the past few years, but we waited until this data was available for us to report out on now. If you take a look, the first indicator focuses on categories found within the overall categories of supportive environment. The other 3 are peer support for academic work, teacher to student trust, safety, and academic personalism. In a second, we'll see the supplemental measures, and I'll go through those at that time. What you're currently looking at is the graph that shows a change in the overall supportive environment category and 3 subcategories from 2022 to 2023. Our goal for all areas was to either maintain or improve to 80. You can see that over the 2 years, we have either maintained or we have gone down slightly in a couple of the categories. As we shared at the recent Committee of the Whole meeting, we are moving to the CSCI survey, the Comprehensive School Climate Inventory. In that survey, we use the information from categories similar to these, such as safety and support for academic learning, so that we can continue to monitor improvements that we can make in these areas. We also use results from the Panorama Mesh survey to look at areas such as school safety and school climate at grades 5 through 8. That's not taken at 4th grade. You can take a look here. You can see we went down slightly in the overall environment, supportive environment. Academic personalism stayed the same, and safety went down slightly. Peer support for academic work, however, it did go down. It went up a little bit. I can't read my screen, but yes. Oh, no, it went down just slightly, yes. But it stayed in that green category above 80. This graph shows the change in the 3 supplemental categories of teacher-student trust, human and social resources, and student-peer relationships. These are not in the overall supportive environment score, but they are reported on, and kids at the older grade levels get these questions. With the exception of human and social resources, which increased, we declined in the other 2 categories. The teacher-student trust category decreased by 7 points, but continues to be in the strong category as recognized by 5 Essentials. We'll look at this area to see where we might target improvements, and we'll measure using that information gathered from teacher-student relationships, the teacher-student relationships domain or dimension from the CSCI. So there's almost an exact alignment with what their dimensions are called. While also continuing to be in the strong category, student-peer relationships decreased 11 points. So we will also take a look at this and see what we might target, so we can look at that as we go on and move to the CSCI. They have a dimension called peer relationships, which is similar.
Goal 3 focuses on our employees, our staff, and our schools. Our first KPI outcome indicator focuses on retention. For this measure, we compare staff who are employed on September 30th of each year. It's one point in time that we measure. As you know, we monitor the hiring and separations each month via the personnel report, and we get updated regularly on that, but this is the one point in time when we take up percentage. And so you can see on this graph that we've improved in retaining both teachers and staff. Teacher retention is currently at 92%, which is a 4% improvement since last fall. For support staff, we've also improved from last year, attaining an 80% retention rate. When considering the retention of our support staff, it's fair to note that not all of our employees in our support staff positions intend to remain in their roles for their entire career. So this is a bit of a delicate balance. We obviously want to retain staff that are working well in our schools and who want to remain in the work that they're doing, but we also want to support staff who want to move forward and do different things throughout their career. And so while we're monitoring it, we know that we set the bar pretty high for support staff. This next slide shows data that is reflective of about 26 exit interview Google forms. So as we've talked about, since we started our strategic plan, we started a process by which we collect information from staff that leave us, and they have the opportunity to either complete a Google form if that's more comfortable, or meet with either Carrie or myself, and quite honestly any administrator who wants to have that conversation. So this information is reflective of staff who have left us since August of 22 through August of 23, and the information collected on our Google form. About 26 responses in this category, a mixture of positions, teachers, paraprofessionals, pretty much anybody that leaves us has this opportunity to share this feedback. And as much as we try to quantify this information into a number and a percent, the reality is there's still some coding and some subjectivity to it. And so, for example, if you look at that second category of moving to another school district in a similar role, the number was higher, significantly higher than last year. And so I looked into who was reporting that, not the actual person, but the role and what information they had to share. And I noticed that the good number of responses in that category were from paraprofessionals who left us last late summer, early fall before our new contract was signed, and citing the reason leaving to go to another school district for better pay, better benefits, things that we were all discussing through negotiations. That reason significantly dropped out for that group of employees once the contract was out. So numbers are great, but they don't always tell us everything, and so we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on that data. Another example is the other category. We had a lot of retirees who completed this for us last year, and so other kind of shot up if you quantified the retirees in the other category. So it's a way to measure, but there's it's important to always dig just below that number as well. 5 essential data, we heard Kelly report on it as well for goal 2. We do have 5 essential data for goal 3. The thing that was exciting to me, you don't actually see it in this graph, but if you were to lay out the categories of collaborative teachers, effective leaders, involved families for the last several years, 2020 till now, we're right now back at almost pre-pandemic status. So 2020 and 2023 data looks very similar, and you saw a dip in 22 and 21, which quite honestly isn't all that surprising. Those were difficult years to be doing the work we were doing. So we're pretty much back to where we were, and looking to move forward with a new tool that will hopefully help us measure these areas as well. And then this last slide has a lot of information on it. These are our strategy indicators for goal 3. Some of them are more just, did we do them, did we not do them type of data. So we did make sure that all of our staff were trained in the collaborative protocol of DataWise. We've all been through the training and trying to implement strategies from that makes sense in the work that we're doing. Also, collecting baseline data from a panorama survey about cultural competency and culturally responsive teaching. We completed and collected that data. We now need to consider what we're going to do as the next step. The last 2 pieces are areas that we have more work to do. So one element that we've been looking at is how often we're pulling our paraprofessionals from their current positions to be substitutes within our schools. This was really important to the strategic plan subcommittees when we were looking at how to evaluate an element of the culture and climate within our schools, right? And with high absences from staff and not enough subs, it created this need to pull paraprofessionals from the work that they would typically be doing to become substitutes to fill our absences. Again, it's an interesting way to track across the school year. Our school secretaries have been phenomenal in helping us manage that data and put that in a spreadsheet that we've given them to track it weekly. If you dig deep into the data, quarter 2 seems to be really tough, be it high absences or not enough subs, but it kind of hits around the holidays and takes us through to the end of January. And that seemed to be the period in the school year where we were pulling our paraprofessionals the most from the jobs that they would have otherwise been assigned to. We haven't met this target. We still have work to do. I will say I think we've been building up a healthy pool of subs, quite honestly. We've been interviewing regularly, and many of our parents and community members have eagerly signed up, and that's a nice offshoot of the pandemic, that we're continuing to have great support from our community in this work, but it is still a struggle. And you can see our absences for staff have improved. So remember, this is looking at the percentage of staff that have used 10% or 10 or fewer days. So we want to get that number to be as small as possible, ideally under 10%. We were in our mid-40s for both licensed staff at 44% and non-licensed staff at 42%, and those have dropped down to 37% and 36% respectively. So improvement, but not acknowledging we're not where we want to be yet.
All right. I am only going to focus on the transition data from both the 4th to 5th grade and 6th to 7th grade transitions. So Toadie's got the night off tonight. So if you go to the next slide, yes. This strategy indicator targets the rate of participation and satisfaction with the 4th to 5th grade transition. And there's a lot of bars on the screen. But from left to right, that first box is positive experience according to parents. The next one is positive experience according to students, the overall transition experience. And then we go into some participation measures, the percentage of students that participated in student orientation or attended a high crest hangout, and then percentage of students and percentage of parents who watch the transition videos. And you can see on the green bars, each one of those has gone up since last year's baseline measure, and our goal has been to increase. So that's really good news. We will continue to monitor this and continue to tweak the transition experience, but we were really excited by looking at those higher than 80 numbers for the positive experience for parents and students. In fact, parents reported 87% of their students had an overall positive experience from 4th to 5th grade, so that's really great. The next slide is just our baseline data for the 6th to 7th grade transition. So we did a similar survey, really just looking at the overall experience. And the positive experience from parents is currently at 82% and students 68%. So it's a good baseline, and our goal is to increase with some tweaks that we'll make over the course of this year in anticipation of next year's transition experience. Any questions?
Any questions, board members?
Shout out to Leo for helping us with all the graphs.
I agree. Thank you. It was a lot of information. It was very clearly presented. And again, being a snapshot, I do appreciate some of the significant gains that we've made and we have to celebrate tonight. So great to see. And I also continue to appreciate all of the transparency and clarity around focus areas and work that we need to continue to do. So thank you for that as well. Anyone else? Okay, I think we are on our last strategic plan update item for the night.
We wanted to bring to the board's attention a letter of agreement with the Wilmette Education Association. Dr. Gowacki?
Yes, so you'll recall that the WEA contract has a floor and a ceiling for salary raises each year. There is a special provision in the contract for teachers who have been on leave of absence, teachers that work less than 90 days within a school year, so an extended leave beyond what would be FMLA. And that raise has typically been CPI, and that language has been fine for us for the last decade. But we need to recognize that we need a ceiling. Have been to have a raise higher than what members who work the entire school year are getting, and they have a ceiling. So the language that we're proposing tonight is to add in the ceiling that all staff will be receiving each year, and WEA leadership is in agreement with that.
Great, thank you. So at this point, we will move on to annual business.
Excellent. We'll start annual business with the fall enrollment report, and Mr. DeMonte is going to walk us through that.
Yep. So annually, District 39 provides a fall enrollment report that captures the number of students housed in District 39 schools, as well as enrollment, as of enrollment on October 1st. So it's a snapshot every year, October 1st. This year, there are 3,261 students educated inside D39 schools. In addition, we also capture the number of students that we have a responsibility to educate. This number is higher as it includes early childhood students receiving itinerant speech, students outplaced at therapeutic settings, and students receiving special education services at the local parochial or private schools. Our fall enrollment total is 3,310 students. And next month, we'll focus on the long-term enrollment projections report. So this month is just purely a snapshot in time. As I poured over this data, a couple things stood out. I figured I would highlight a few items for you. One of which is Central and Mackenzie enrollments increased slightly from last year. If you look at Harper, we have seen a decline over the last 2 years of approximately 53 students. We talked a little bit about this last year. Not sure why that would be the case when I spoke with the village. It's not as if there's a lot of tear downs happening in the Harper boundary area, but that was notable, and did want to mention that. Also noticed that we had 18 more students attending kindergarten at Ramona compared to last year at this time. And another data point that we've talked about before is over the last 8 years, our enrollment has dropped around 30 to 40 students per year, with one exception, which was 2019 to 2020, when COVID happened and we saw a drop of 130 students that year. We've not sure what happened to those 130 students, or if you want to take out the 30 to 40 students, about 100 students. But that was also something to point out, as our numbers have dropped for the last 8 years. So again, we'll talk about projections and what we think may happen over time going forward. It's always interesting to talk about, but never quite sure exactly how it turns out. Are there any questions?
Thank you. We will continue at this point with the review of the tax year 2023 estimate of levy.
Yes, thank you. And I believe the board received some information of this at the COW meeting, but Corey's going to review a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm just going to review a few of the slides. So since we went in more detail at the committee of the whole, all right, so one of the primary factors that goes into estimating the levy in any given year is what is the CPI? This chart has a lot of historical information. The top row is what we're focusing on. Last year's calendar year had a 5% CPI. That's what will be included in our estimate. Similar slide with lots of historical data. The top row is the one that we're focusing on tonight, 2022 levy year. So that information recently became available, 22.3 million in new growth, and then a total EAV of 2.2 billion. Helps to set that baseline. It is worth noting that the year that we just completed and taxpayers should be getting their tax bills, around November 1st, is it did include a reassessment, and the goal from the county level was reassessing this northern triennial with about 25%, and we saw just under that. Now, one of the steps in the process is estimating the limiting rate, which is important because that's the rate that's applied to the new growth. So as we went through the process, we took last year's extension, increased it by 5%. Then we took the new growth amount, estimated new growth amount of 15.5 million off of what we anticipate that the AV to be. We come up with 2.987% as the limiting rate. One thing to keep in mind, we would anticipate based upon the factors in play for this levy year is that existing property owners would see about a 5% increase in their tax bill related to D39. This graph shows 3 columns. The first column is intended to show what would happen if we just captured the 5%. And the second column is what if that's what we kind of estimate or we expect to happen. So it's about 15.5 million in new property growth. Really where I gravitate on this slide is I go towards the bottom and the second row from the bottom. So that 15.5 in new growth would be worth about $462,000. And then the far right column is, because we have a kind of a vague process in which we have to ask for more than what we're able to get, otherwise we lose it. We are ballooning our levy, or we're asking for up to 49.4 million, which equates to that very bottom right corner, an extra 2.4% over the 5% CPI. So we'd be asking for 7.4% in the levy, knowing we would likely get something that's probably in that 5.5% to 6% range when you include new growth. This slide starts with our draft tax extension for 2022. You see 61.4 million is what the operating funds came in at. So then we estimate with a 5% growth gets us to that middle column of 65.0 million. And then the second column to the right, that's what we're requesting, or what we'll ask the board to approve in November, 66.0 million. So that 66.0 million would be the amount that is 7.4% higher than what we received last year. And then the last slide is just highlighting for everyone a specific date and time what our cash balances were. So at the end of July, D39 had $46.7 million, and that is broken down by fund. And that is the end of the estimate presentation. The one other thing that the board will be asked to vote on, besides approving just the estimate tonight, is setting that public hearing date in November. So the board will vote on that, and leading into that November board meeting, we'll have a public hearing before the board would vote to approve the 2023 tax levy.
Thank you, Corey. I know we reviewed this and discussed this at the Committee of the Whole. Are there any additional questions this evening for Corey? Okay. With that, we will move on to board policy review, and the first reading of board policies 5:80, 5:125, 5:170, 5:180, 5:185, and 5:270.
Notes regarding any of these policy revisions, Dr. Loretta? Any review suggestions or questions from the board?
Okay, great. This is the second opportunity for the audience to address the board. Okay. Seeing no audience members here tonight, we will continue with our agenda. Next on the agenda will be the consent items. Next order of business is the consent agenda under the action items. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. Mrs. Paling, please proceed with the motions.
I move to approve the personnel report dated October 23rd, 2023. Move to adjust the administrator and exempt employee 2023-2024 contractual salary increase indexed to consumer price index to an aggregate merit raise of 5.0%. I move to approve the tax year 2023 estimate of levy as per Exhibit A attached. I move to approve a public hearing on the proposed levy scheduled to immediately precede the regular November 13th, 2023 meeting of the Board of Education. I move to approve the fiscal year 2024 school maintenance project grant application. I move to approve the attached Wilmette Education Agreement Association letter of agreement providing a ceiling to salary increases for teachers returning from an extended leave of absence. Move to approve to maintain as confidential the executive session minutes for the following dates: March 14th, 2023, March 20th, 2023, April 17th, 2023, April 24th, 2023, May 15th, 2023, June 5th, 2023, June 12th, 2023, and August 14th, 2023. I move to approve to dispose of executive session audio recordings pursuant to district policy for the following dates: May 10th, 2021, May 24th, 2021, June 7th, 2021, June 14th, 2021, August 23rd, 2021, and September 27th, 2021. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between September 19th, 2023 and October 23rd, 2023 in the following amounts: Educational Fund, $616,493.21. O&M Fund, $113,852.42. Transportation, $248,144.31. Capital Projects, $551,240, for a total all funds of $1,529,729.94. I move to approve the manual checks issued between September 19th, 2023 and October 23rd, 2023 in the following amounts: Educational Fund, $1,025,121.39. O&M Fund, $91,057. Transportation, $173.22. Capital Projects, $216,520.63, for a total all funds of $1,332,872.24. Policies for first reading. I move to approve as first reading of Board of Education policies 5:80, court duty, 5:125, acceptable use of technology, 5:170, copyright, 5:180, temporary illness or temporary incapacity, 5:185, Family Medical Leave Act, and 5:270, employment at will.
Thank you, Mrs. Paling. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Caesarretti?
Yes.
Ann Hart?
Yes.
Bonnie Kim?
Yes.
Allison Pathless?
Yes.
Amy Paling?
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Fades?
The ayes have it. Motion carried. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move on to conference items. Is there any old business? New business? Okay, good and welfare. I'll say something. I'll just say that Freaky Friday was a blast. So it clearly, so much work went into that event from staff, administrators, volunteers. It was pretty incredible. There was a DJ, and I would say when Taylor Swift came on, that probably got the biggest participation of the night. That was fun to watch. There were multiple bounce houses. There were cider donuts. There was a photo booth. There were so many kids. The participation and attendance was great. So well done to everyone who was involved in that. It was a fantastic event.
Weather cooperates.
Yes, and thank you to Mother Nature. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss collective negotiations, specific personnel, and special education individual student matters?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion carried. We are now adjourned to executive.
We have to take a vote. Motion second and a vote. Roll call.
Roll call?
John Caesarretti?
Yes.
Ann Hart?
Yes.
Bonnie Kim?
Yes.
Allison Pathless?
Yes.
Amy Paling?
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Fades?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. We are now adjourned to executive session, and the time is 8:44 p.m.